I am Curran Bhatia, and welcome to Ask the Experts Podcast, Volume 2. If you haven't checked out Episode 1, please do so. We broke down Joshua versus Ruiz. We analyzed it. We had an excellent panel of experts. Today is Episode 2, and we are going to talk about more topical things going on in the world of boxing. We have great guests to cover all those. We're going to be talking to Joseph Parker. He's a heavyweight and the only man to beat Andy Ruiz. There's a lot of rumors circling around about Canelo Alvarez. Who is he going to fight? He was supposed to fight Golovkin for the third fight, and then out of nowhere we heard Sergey Kovalev's name. We have Kovalev's promoter, Jolene Mizzone. She is the VP of Operations and Matchmaker for Main Events. She's going to update us on what's going on with these rumors. And another big event in the world of boxing, bare knuckle boxing. Paulie Malignaggi took on Artem Lobov in the main event of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 6. And who better to talk about that event are Paulie Malignaggi and Artem Lobov. You're going to hear from both men. I was lucky enough to interview them. Plus, we have Billy Dibb. He just got the call up to fight Amir Khan on July 12th. And from the Khan side, we have Alex Ariza, his strength coach. And before we get to our guests, let's talk about what's going on in boxing. As I said earlier, Canelo Alvarez. He beat Danny Jacobs. We thought it's inevitable. He's going to fight Triple G for the trilogy. It's going to happen this fall. That's what everyone thought would happen. Think again. We've seen the rumors swirling around Twitter, swirling around everywhere, that Canelo is now interested in moving up in weight. He may face Callum Smith, or he could go to light heavyweight to fight Sergey Kovalev. Yes, that Sergey Kovalev. Like I said, we have the absolute perfect person to talk about it. Jolene Mizzone is the VP of Operations and Matchmaker for Main Events. That's Kovalev's promoter. She has been in boxing for as long as you can remember. She's one of the best matchmakers in boxing. And I asked her point blank about these rumors. And actually, it turns out they're not just rumors. Main Events is aware of them, and she's going to tell us what is most likely for Kovalev's next fight. Also going on in boxing recently, Jermell Charlo knocked out Jorge Cota. And why is that notable? Boxer safety has been coming up to the forefront. Jermell knocked down Cota in round 3, and as Cota got up, referee Jay Nady took Cota's hand off of the ropes and almost forced him to continue. What ended up happening? Charlo knocked out Cota with a vicious 1-2, and Cota was not at all prepared to defend himself. Now people are calling on Jay Nady to explain himself. Why did he keep that fight going? I actually reached out to Jay Nady to see if he would be on the podcast for an interview. He denied that request. So it's up to us to decide what we think happened. Jay Nady is older in age, and there's been a lot of talk of, do we need younger referees? Do we need to retrain some referees? Fighters' safety should not be put into jeopardy from referees. If anything, we want refs to stop these fights early. We don't want people to have the fate that Cota had against Jermell Charlo. Speaking of boxers' safety, what about bare knuckle boxing? Like I said, I was lucky enough to interview both Paulie Malignaggi and Artem Lobov. Why is that interesting? Well, there's so much to unpack there. There's such a big backstory. Paulie Malignaggi was in Conor McGregor's training camp when Conor was training for Floyd Mayweather. And it started off, well, they were sparring, and then it didn't end up so well. There was video released where Conor said he knocked down Paulie. Paulie says that's not the full story. That was a slip, released the whole fight. The whole fight was never released, and that caused a big beef between Paulie and Conor. Enter Artem Lobov. Artem trains with Conor. They're good friends. And Conor's arch enemy, Khabib Nurmagomedov, had an issue with Artem, confronted Artem, got in his face, and that's actually what caused Conor to take his private jet straight from Ireland to Barclays Center, try to confront Khabib, who was in a bus, as we all know. Conor picked up a dolly and smashed the bus window, got into a lot of trouble for that. So what does that all mean? You have 4 guys who all hate each other, and 2 of them just fought, Paulie and Artem Lobov. And there was a lot of smack talk. There was a lot of pre-fight hype. Paulie actually slapped Artem in the face during a media workout. He spit on him. He said he would spit on his family. There was a lot of bad blood there. We're going to hear from Paulie and in his own words what happened on his fight against Artem. Paulie felt he was robbed. I watched the fight. I thought it was a close fight, but to me it seemed like Paulie did enough to win. I thought he outboxed Artem, though I thought it was close. It felt like Artem came on a little late. It's interesting to note that all 3 judges gave the first 2 rounds to Paulie, and all 3 judges gave the last 3 rounds to Artem. So Artem obviously came on late. The other thing that happened is Paulie actually broke his hand in round 2. He is going to talk about that and tell us exactly what happened. You know he's always outspoken. He has a lot to say. And you're going to get an exact percentage on how likely it is that Paulie Malignaggi will ever fight Conor McGregor. And spoiler alert, it's not very high. And then who else better to break down Paulie Malignaggi versus Artem Lobov than Artem Lobov himself, the GOAT, the Russian Hammer. He won the fight, and he's going to tell us what's next for him. I'll tell you this, he wants a big name, and he wants a big name in boxing, and that is Amir Khan. He called out Amir Khan during our interview, and I asked him, I said, is that going to be MMA? Is that going to be boxing? He answered that, and also he answered if he still has beef with Khabib. We brought up Amir Khan. Why is that interesting? Well, Amir Khan, as we all know, he fought Terence Crawford earlier this year. He went down in the first round. It was debatable if he quit or if he was hit low, but he was now scheduled to fight Niraj Goyat from India. This was going to be an India versus Pakistan matchup in Saudi Arabia, and what ended up happening, Goyat was in a car crash. So they needed someone to fill that void. Who is going to take on Amir Khan? They found that person in Billy the Kid Dib. Billy Dib is going to be fighting Amir Khan, and we will be speaking with Billy Dib. We're going to ask him what it means to get this opportunity. Here's what's interesting about that fight. We've been talking about fighters' safety and how we have to improve that in the sport. Billy Dib's fights have been at 130 or 135 pounds. He's going to go up over 10 pounds to fight Amir Khan on 2 weeks' notice. Where is his mindset? He's daring to be great, but does he think he can actually win? We ask him about that. And then to get the Khan perspective on things, I am going to be speaking to Amir Khan's strength and conditioning coach, Alex Ariza. He actually called me from Saudi Arabia. That's where they are training right now. Alex was with Khan back when he fought Marcos Maidana. If you remember, Maidana had a 97% knockout percentage, I think, at the time, and Khan actually stayed up in that fight, even though he was almost completely knocked out in the 10th round. Can you give Alex Ariza credit for that win? Maybe, maybe not. But Alex Ariza and Khan split up. Khan went on to win some big fights. He also went on to lose some. Now he's back with Alex Ariza. Is that his secret sauce? Is that the special component that he needs to help him stay up in these fights? I ask Ariza how he's rebuilding Khan and what he's going to do differently for this new replacement opponent. Remember, they were originally training for Niraj Goyat. Now they're going to have to take on a much smaller opponent in Billy the Kid Dib. You also may know the name Alex Ariza because he used to be Manny Pacquiao's strength and conditioning coach. I asked him about how Manny Pacquiao's body has evolved, how his boxing style has evolved, and what is Alex Ariza's pick on Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman? How is that fight going to play out? Let's talk about what else has happened in boxing since Joshua Ruiz, the fallout. The rematch, as we know, is coming together. There's talks for November or December. Mexico was thrown out there. The UK was thrown out there as a location. New York City is definitely a possibility. The details are still getting sorted out, but one thing we do know for sure, Joseph Parker is the one man on planet Earth that can say he beat Andy Ruiz, who is the 3-belt heavyweight champion. And we're going to talk to Joseph Parker, not only about his fight coming up, but we're going to break down what happened in Joshua Ruiz and what was his pick when he heard that matchup was made. In addition, like I said, he's the only man to take Joshua 12 rounds. That's interesting. Joshua either knocked out all his opponents or, like we saw in the case with the Ruiz, got knocked out. So what did Joseph Parker learn from going 12 rounds with Anthony Joshua? Parker is fighting Alex Leopai this weekend in Providence, Rhode Island. He's going to be on the undercard of another big player in the middleweight division. That is Demetrius Andrade, who's taking on Sulecki. The winner of that fight is obviously in the mix to fight a Gennady Golovkin, a Danny Jacobs, or even a Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, like I said, that all depends on who Canelo ends up fighting next. The rumors are swirling about. So, without further ado, let us get to our first guest. He's the heavyweight from New Zealand. Joseph Parker is up first. My name is Curran Bhatia, and let's ask the experts. All right, this is Curran Bhatia for the Ask the Experts podcast. I am speaking to the only man to defeat the current 3-belt holder, Andy Ruiz, the only man to take Anthony Joshua to the distance. It is Joseph Parker from New Zealand. This weekend, he's fighting Alex Leopai. Joseph, just take us through this matchup that you have this weekend against Alex Leopai at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, Rhode Island. Tell us your initial thoughts on that fight.
Yeah, it's every fight is a time for you to get into the ring and enjoy yourself for all the hard work that's been done in training camp, and it's time to relax and enjoy and have fun. And I have Alex Ariza as an opponent. You know, initially we had Eric Molina, but there was a few issues there, so he wasn't available, and we had 2 or 3 other people lined up as backup plans in case something didn't go through, which obviously it didn't, and then that didn't go through as well. So Alex was the person who put up his hand and said he was willing to come over here, and he wants to come here and knock me out. And I think if you know, for him, it's a great opportunity to get his name out there again. For me, I'm trying to get back to the world title shot and you know, fight for the unified championship of the world again. So I have to take these steps to get there, and you know, I don't take any opponent lightly. Everyone that I face, I take very seriously, and I train very hard for this fight.
You're from New Zealand. He's from Australia. I know you both share the Samoan heritage. Is there a little bit of bad blood just based on a rivalry there?
There's always rivalry with Australia and New Zealand, you know, and they want to be the best at this, and we want to be the best at this, and so there's a lot of, it's very competitive between the 2 countries. So in that sense, yeah, there's you know, me as a New Zealander, Samoan, I want to win and to represent my countries, and he wants to, you know, win to represent Australia and Samoa. So the best man's going to win on the day, and I you know, like I said, I've done everything I can in training camp, so I want to go out there and put on a great performance and enjoy myself, and you know, I'm looking to get that victory.
Since your fight with Dillian Whyte, it was a very close fight. He knocked you down twice. You knocked him down in the 12th round and almost stopped him. I've read that since that time, you've made some changes. You've been training full time, not just preparing for big fights. And you've also changed from nice guy to nasty in the ring. Is that accurate? Has there been a physical shift and also a mindset shift for you?
Yeah, most definitely. I see those that I've had with Joshua and Whyte as fights that I've sort of taken away a lot of things from that fight. And you know, going into the training camps, I've always had a problem with my weight. I always come back overweight, and I'll be spending 2 or 3 weeks trying to lose weight and get in shape, rather than focusing on skills, techniques, and the combinations that we can work on. So I made I think with maturity and having a good program and schedule when I'm back at home, I was able to, you know, fit in training twice a day and keep in shape. And this is the best shape that I've been in coming into camp in my whole life. So I think mentally it's given me a lot of confidence, because I know that I've come in a good shape, you know, and I spent the whole camp working on different things instead of losing the weight. So I'm fully, it just shows the focus that I have. I think I'm a lot more focused now that I'm not champion than when I was champion.
Safe to say the losses that you had have lit a fire under you. I must ask you, you have a very unique perspective about the big heavyweight upset that happened a few weeks ago. You fought Andy Ruiz. You are the only man to defeat Andy Ruiz. You also fought Anthony Joshua. You're the only man to take Joshua to 12 rounds. So you have a very, very, very unique perspective. When that matchup was made, everyone thought Joshua was going to roll over Ruiz. What did you think, being in the ring with both guys? What was your initial impressions of how that fight was going to play out?
Yeah, before the fight, they asked me questions, because I've been in a ring with both guys, and I said that, you know, Joshua, with the fight ahead of him, he did very well to control the distance, and I was unable to get in like Ruiz did. And then when they asked me about Ruiz, I said Ruiz has got some pop behind his punches because of the speed that he possesses, and I said that you know, he has the ability to get a victory, and I didn't think he'll get a victory like that. He did it in great fashion. And so, you know, it just shows that you know, there's in the heavyweight division in boxing, there's always going to be surprises, and also, you know, anything can happen, you know, and styles make fights, and I'm not sure if the style of Ruiz was good for Joshua.
And your fight with Joshua, like I said, you went 12 rounds, the only person to do that. Was that a learning experience for you? I mean, in that fight, it was a close fight, but you were maybe a little bit tentative, a little bit gun shy. Was that a big learning experience fighting Anthony Joshua?
Yeah, it was a big learning, because you know, in the fight, it's very good to work on defense, and the goal of the fight is not to get hit and do the hitting. But I think offensively, I wasn't throwing enough punches. So in that sense, I was able to go back and work on, you know, having good defense, but also having a good, you know, when you're throwing punches and combinations there. So I was able to work on that, and I feel like I'm a lot more aggressive fighter than I was back then.
right now, the heavyweight division, everyone is talking about the four-headed monster. That is Joshua, Ruiz, Wilder, and Fury. I've read that you've said you're not really in the mix or part of the conversation, but you have that drive to be part of the conversation. Do you want there to be a five-headed monster currently in the heavyweight division?
Yeah, I know I belong at the top level. And, I've had a few setbacks with the two losses, to Joshua and to White. And I know that where I stand at the moment, I have to sort of climb myself back up to the top, and I'll take the steps to get there. But if those guys gave me a call tomorrow and said, hey, am I willing to fight them? I'll fight any of them. I'm willing to go anywhere to fight anyone at any time, and I believe I have the skills to be able to beat them.
And not to look ahead of your upcoming fight against Alex Leopai, but he is 39 years old. After this fight, what do you want? Who do you want a rematch with Dillian White? Do you want a rematch with Anthony Joshua? Do you want a rematch with Andy Ruiz? Andy Ruiz has said that if he gets past Joshua in his rematch, he would like to fight you. What do you want next?
Listen, I'd like to avenge the losses that I've had, and if Ruiz, hopefully I get past this opponent, which I have a full confidence in myself. Hopefully Ruiz gets past Joshua again. I'll fight him, and I'll fight Dillian White anytime. I'll be calling him out and said, that was a close fight, and a few things happened in the fight which, a headbutt and sort of changed the course of the fight. So I'll fight him anytime. And like I said, I like to avenge the losses to Joshua and White. So if they give me a call, I can make the fight happen.
And just to close it out, like we said, you're fighting Alex Leopai this weekend. Give the fans a prediction. How is that fight going to play out, and are you going to win by knockout?
Yeah, the prediction. I think you're going to come in strong. You're going to come in strong for the first few rounds, and then what I have in my mind is that I want to jab him, and I'm going to break him down, smash him from the outside. Then I'm going to pick my shot to knock him out.
Joseph, that is great. Thank you so much. Before I let you go, I have some friends from New Zealand, so they told me to say yeah, nah, and they wanted me to ask if you like pineapple lumps.
Yeah, nah. Pineapple lumps. Pineapple lumps are the best. You gotta have some, brother.
I gotta try some. Joseph Parker, best of luck with your challenge with Alex Leopai, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of you in the heavyweight division, trying to avenge some of the losses you've had, becoming a champion again. Best of luck to you, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was Joseph Parker, looking to get back into the mix with the top heavyweights in the division. Next, we have Jolene Mizzone. She's going to update us on what is going on with those rumors that we've been hearing. Is Sergey Kovalev going to fight Canelo Alvarez? This is Curran Bhatia for the Ask the Experts podcast. I am lucky enough to be speaking to Jolene Mizzone. She is the Vice President of Operations and Matchmaker for Main Events. Jolene, the first thing I obviously have to ask you about, we've seen the rumors swirling around that Canelo Alvarez may be fighting Sergey Kovalev. Could that be right?
I've seen the same thing. There's been no offers from Golden Boy, but, obviously Sergey would be interested if the rumors are true, and there needs to be an offer given. If the rumors are true, look, kudos to Canelo. That's a throwback, Tommy Hearns, all those guys moving up in weight. Like, that's what legacies are made of. That's what guys do, and that's what he wants to do. So, on the Canelo part, I could see him wanting that because of just how he's challenged himself in his career. But, they have our numbers and they know our numbers, so...
So they haven't reached out, Golden Boy that is, with an official offer. You've seen the same rumors that we have. Have you or anyone at Main Events talked to Sergey about that as a possibility? Would he even be interested in that fight?
Oh, yeah. Sergey's the same Sergey from when we first signed him. Sergey is open for any fight because he has the same mentality. He wants to challenge himself.
Sergey is always taken on every challenge. If he doesn't take on Canelo, there was talks about him fighting Anthony Yard. Is that a possibility? Would that be next for him?
Yeah, that's his mandatory right now, and that's what we're in the midst of Just trying to make that everything is moving along. Nothing signed, sealed, and delivered yet. So, we can't wait around for rumors. We just have to move forward and look out for Sergey.
And Sergey, he came off of the knockout loss to Eladir Alvarez. He avenged that and won that fight. Anthony Yarde is 18-0. He's 17 knockouts. He's only 27 years old. He's from the UK. If that fight does come together, would that fight take place in the UK?
No, that fight would probably take place in Russia.
Okay, got it. And we were speaking about Canelo. It was announced today that the WBC is creating a new belt for him, and he would be the franchise champion. I was just curious to your thoughts, as a matchmaker, do you like when there's obviously the 4 belts and then there's interim champion, regular champion. Is that a good thing for you because you can say to your fighters, hey, I can get you a title fight? Or do you not like that because it kind of dilutes the sport a little bit that there's so many title belts?
It dilutes. Look, the only one who knows about pink, purple, white, interim, silver, all those type of belts are people within the industry. The general public, knows about just the WBC. So, I think it dilutes it a little bit. I'm for the regional titles, like the NABF and, those regional titles of guys coming up because I think you need those. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it gets very confusing of, with the bigger titles of, who the champion is, and it's too much. It's too much.
I've seen you write about, you said, as our job as promoters is to protect fighters inside and outside of the ring. We just recently had the Jermell Charlo versus Cota fight. Cota was knocked down and it looked like he was done. He had his hand on the ropes and Jay Nady actually took his hand and took it off the ropes and forced him to continue what it seemed like, and he ended up getting brutally knocked out by a big 1-2 from Charlo. I was just curious if you saw that fight, your thoughts on that and your thoughts on referees and what they can do better to protect these fighters.
Well, I think the referee's job, it's hard to, referees, like all of us, are human and mistakes could happen. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think every time they should be crucified. I think that as promoters, we need to protect our fighters. So if it's something that happened to one of my fighters and we wanted to protest it or what, that's what we're going to do if we all agree and believe. But I don't think anybody, like I said, referees are human. Things happen in there and mistakes are made. I'm not big on, crucifying a referee unless it's something that's constant, and, there's a reason, there's commissions. They're supposed to oversee that. That's their job. As promoters, we have to protect our fighter and say, okay, we don't want this referee for this fight because of X, Y, and Z. But as far as the repercussions after, I believe, it's the commission's job to reprimand them and the promoter's job to protect the fighter.
And your job as a promoter, you've obviously been with main events for a long time, promoting the likes of Arturo Gatti to Sergey Kovalev and everyone in between. And it has been traditionally a man's world. And I was just wondering for you what that experience has been like, not only just to survive, but to succeed in that world.
Well, see, I tell everybody the same thing. The world we live in is a man's world. So, I'm not one that's like a feminist of woe is me and girl power and this, and I want to be treated equal. I'm not treated equal all the time. And I think as a female, I'm smarter in a way if I'm not being treated equal. I put it in my pocket and tables turn all the time. So, I deal with everybody the way I would deal with, males, females, everything. I think people respect me because, I also have the reputation, you're not going to walk all over me and I'm not going to take no shit. So, and that's kind of how you have to be, but business savvy at the same time. Like a lot of people don't want to approach me because, they say, oh, that me personally, I'm very standoffish. I'm hard to deal with. I'm not hard to deal with. I just know what I want and I'm going to get what I want. It's no different than a male. So being in a male dominant sport or business, I don't even look at it that way because any business I'd be in, it's male dominant. So I have to be who I am, work how I work. And I've never had a problem with that ever, personally.
And your role as a matchmaker, part of what you do is assigning these fighters different fights. When you see a big upset happen, for example, a few weeks ago, we obviously had the huge heavyweight upset, Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. When you see something like that happen to one of your fighters, do you ever second guess yourself and say, oh, maybe I shouldn't have put this guy in with this fighter? Or is that just part of the sport and now you can start to promote maybe the guy who got the upset?
It's just kind of the sport. Going into a fight, I feel, like, I remember, like, to give you an example, and maybe it's not the greatest, but years ago when Sergey and we were trying to do the first Andre Ward fight, and I remember Kathy saying to me, this is a tough fight. I don't know if we want Andre Ward. Andre Ward's, blah, blah, blah. And my first reaction to it was, Sergey beats Andre Ward. She goes, you think he really beats him? And I said, yeah, I think he does. She said, you didn't even have to think about it. I said, that's just how I feel. I just, the right Sergey beats him. And look, in my opinion, the first fight, yeah, Sergey's ours. I think he got robbed. Shit happens, whatever, you move on. But most fights that were, unless they're mandatory fights or what, most fights that we do, our fighters are going in where they should win that fight. We can't mentally get them ready, and we don't know every single thing that's happening here. That is on them. So if there's an upset and one of our guys loses, as the fight's happening, you have to understand on a lower level from a 4-rounder to 12-rounder, as the fight's happening within the second round, I'm already thinking of plan B. Okay, if so-and-so loses this fight, then, who can I put him in with? Or, I'm always thinking of that. Or, okay, this guy beats my guy. Okay, if I could sign him, maybe each give him a fight and do I'm always thinking as the fight's going on. So you got to, kind of, look at brighter sides of upsets sometimes. Sergey losing to Alvarez. You know what? It sucked at the time. It sucked. But the brighter side, like I said after the fight, he needed that. Because the brighter side is he finally woke up and said, you know what? I have to change and I have to make changes. And he did. And he listened.
He did, and he was able to avenge that loss and take out Eleider Alvarez in February of this year. You mentioned Andre Ward. I was just really quick. I was curious to your thoughts. Obviously, the first fight, you believe Kovalev won. He knocked down Ward early. A lot of people think he won that fight. In the second fight, when Ward had Kovalev up against the ropes, he got the TKO, but as you could see, some of those shots were low. I'm just curious of what did you think at the end of that second Kovalev and Ward fight?
I think some of the shots were low, and again, you can go back and cry over spilled milk and say the referee didn't do his job or whatever. But again, that was something that happened. Like Andre Ward, the second fight figured out Sergey better and made adjustments. Sergey didn't make adjustments in the second fight. So, that's going to happen. And it happened, it happened against Andre Ward. You know what I'm saying? It didn't, and you move on and you make the right adjustment. And, that's what it's all about. I mean, look, the Sergey story, which no one's really picked up, reminds me of the Arturo Gatti story. Arturo was supposed to be his last fight, and not that this was against Ward, supposed to be, Sergey's last fight, but, here goes Arturo Gatti to fight big bad Oscar De La Hoya. It's the same thing with Andre Ward. He gets stopped by Oscar De La Hoya. He wants to come back. He goes and he changes his trainers to the same exact guy Sergey had, Buddy McGirt and Teddy Cruz. And he came back to fight Teron Millette and looked like a totally different fighter. Totally different fighter. And it gave him a second half of his career. Because, with Buddy McGirt, with the training, him and Arturo clicked, him and Sergey clicked. Teddy Cruz with the strength and conditioning, Sergey, for the second Alvarez fight, before the weigh-in, was eating breakfast. Mentally, that is an advantage. And they both work well together, and they're good with the mental aspect. When guys get taken over by new trainers, they could fight. Arturo Gatti knew how to fight. Sergey Kovalev knew how to fight. It's about the right people bringing the right things out of you, mentally and physically.
Absolutely, and Arturo Gatti and Sergey Kovalev, they definitely will take on all challenges, all comers. So just to close it off, final question. Sergey Kovalev's in the ring for his next fight. Standing across from him is who? Is it Anthony Yard or is it Canelo Alvarez?
I hope it's Canelo Alvarez. But yeah, like I said, there's been no offer as of yet. So we'll see.
We will see what happens. Jolene Mizzone, Vice President of Operations and Matchmaker at Main Events. Thank you so much for the time.
Not a problem. Anytime.
Jolene Mizzone clearing up some of those Canelo Kovalev rumors. It looks like she and the Main Events team would like that fight to happen. All right, switching gears a little bit, we are going to talk to Paulie Malignaggi. You've seen him in boxing, and he just fought on bare knuckle boxing. He did not get the decision, and he has a lot to say about it. And we are going to get the official percentage chance that he would fight Conor McGregor. All right, this is Curran Bhatia for the Ask the Experts podcast. I am lucky enough to be chatting with former welterweight champion. He's had a great career. Paulie Malignaggi just came off the main event against Artem Lobov at Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 6. Paulie, obviously the fight didn't go your way in terms of the judges. You won the first 2 rounds on every scorecard, but the judges gave Artem the last 3. I know you broke your hand in the second round. Just take us through the fight and what happened.
Yeah, I got robbed pretty much is what happened. I think most everybody that watched the fight that I've talked to has felt like I won the fight, and they didn't feel it was very competitive either. Having said that, I do think if you're Artem Lobov, you definitely can take this result and benefit yourself with it. And I think he should be happy that he was able to take this win. There's been a lot of close fights that he haven't gone his way in his career, so I think it was a good birdie for him to get the win here. But I think as far as he should be the only one that should be half satisfied with the performance because he got the win. Because even if you're Artem Lobov's friend, or if you're Artem Lobov's trainer, or if you're Artem Lobov's supporter, there's no way you can actually watch that fight and think like, oh wow, he really won that fight. I mean, unless you're mentally retarded, there's no way. I mean, I actually watched it a couple times now, and I still can't fathom how he got rounds 3 and 5. I mean, all 3 judges gave him 3, 4, and 5. I still can't fathom. Round 3 is a dominant round by me. I actually dominated 3 more than I dominated 1. But there's a moment in round 3 where I think everybody got fooled. At least those 3 judges got fooled, and the Lobov hit parade he got fooled because it's a shot that doesn't land. It's a left hand that he throws. It doesn't land. It basically grazes my cheek. But I'm spinning to my left, and with the southpaw right-hander dynamic, sometimes you trip over each other's feet when you're moving in that direction. and as I was spinning to my left, getting away from the punch, I tripped over his lead foot because we're on the same side, and I kind of went off balance. I think maybe some people thought it was a shot that might have stumbled me, I might have felt or whatnot, so they figured it's an excuse to give him the round. The shot didn't even land. And aside from that, I actually dominated the round more than I dominated round one. You know, it's a shame because even the announcing team was pretty much Bush League aside from Antonio. You know, the announcer, the blow by blow guy said that's better work by Lobov when the shot didn't even land when that happened, and the MMA announcer, Lytle, was basically he had everything but his pom-poms out cheering for Lobov for anything that was going on, you know, even if he had to make it up. So yeah, it was a little bit frustrating to have to rewatch it and hear that, but also know what really happened and watch the fight as it unfolded and clearly see myself winning the fight, you know.
And I was watching that fight, and it kind of seemed like the same fight. It seemed like you were boxing circles around Artem, and it seemed like Artem wasn't doing enough. He definitely wasn't doing enough early. I definitely saw him come on a little bit later, but it didn't seem like he was necessarily that effective.
He came on in the fourth, but he basically shot his load in the fourth too because he didn't do anything in the fifth. You know, the reason I didn't do anything a lot in the fifth was because my hands were both hurting. I mean, my right hand was broken, and my left hand I had overused it to the point now that it was really in a lot of pain. You know, I think I put both of my pictures of my hands after the fight on Instagram, and people see how bad the swelling was on both hands. So I think even my left hand by round 5 was killing me. But round 5, he literally didn't land a punch, not even anything crazy. He literally didn't land a single punch on round 5, which is amazing to me that you can get around without landing a single punch. but they all 3 judges sure found a way to give it to him.
All 3 judges, rounds 3, 4, and 5, gave it to Artem. Obviously, a lot of people were not happy with that decision, including yourself. You know, there was a lot of bad blood before the fight. You know, there was the slap that took place at the media workout. There was all the trash talk. And I know that not only with Artem, but you've had some bad blood, obviously, with his stablemate, with Conor McGregor. Some people had said after this fight, if you had won, it could set up that eventual fight with you and Conor. Do you still want to fight Conor McGregor?
No, I mean, I think that was everybody just making things up as they went along, you know. They just figured I was angling for a Conor fight. I was angling for the video to be released. If the Conor fight came about, it would come about, but I wanted that full video to be released. No, I mean, listen, at this point, I think people are going to believe what they want to believe. The MMA community is now more so saying, if I lost the Lobov, what would Conor have done to me? You're taking the fact that I finished one-handed, and I had to make the adjustment to fight one-handed, and then you're judging it on what I would do in another fight. Obviously, these mental midgets just keep getting dumber the more I listen to them. But you know, the whole point of another fight would be I would have 2 hands. Would it not? A two-handed fighter is different. I think if I'm two-handed on Saturday, you know, the fight probably doesn't go the distance. But you know, it's what it is. You know, you gotta take what you can. And obviously, one of the things I wasn't blessed with is good hands. You know, so I guess that was always a risk. And like I said, credit to Artem. I mean, he did what he had to do, and you know, he tried. No matter what I think of the end result, you know, he did try his hardest, and you know, he was credited with the effort. And like I said, I mean, I don't have a problem with him benefiting from the win because like he's been a guy who's had a lot of bad breaks in his career. So it's, you know, if a good break was gonna happen to somebody, hey, you know, what can I say? I'm glad it's him.
I know that you've said Miguel Cotto was one of the toughest, if not the toughest guy you fought. Where do you rank Artem Lobov? In you know, you fought some great champions. You fought Amir Khan, Adrian Broner, Danny Garcia, many people. Where do you rank Artem in that list of people you fought?
I mean, I don't know. This is a different sport. It's a different situation. It's hard to rank them. It's hard to rank. It's hard to give Artem a ranking as far as, you know, making comparison to the rest of my career.
What's after this? You know, you said that if you had won, you would have continued in bare knuckle fighting championship. What's next for you? Are you retired from all combat sports? Are you going to make a comeback in boxing and bare knuckle? What's next for Paulie Malignaggi?
No, I don't think I'm going to fight again. Yeah, you know, it's funny because as I got really settled into the fight, and I was like, I literally saw all the punches. I didn't get hit with a single shot from the outside, except for a couple grazing shots. So, you know, I mean, I looked at my face compared to the rest of the guys on the card. Like, I got cut with one bad inside clinch, and I opened up some bad gashes, one on the side of my face and one right on top by my eyebrow, Aside from that, which is, a small hiccup in the grand scheme of things. But of course it opened up bad gashes. I mean, aside from that, I did not take a single clean shot in the fight. So, I wasn't even sore the next day. My face wasn't even really bruised up or anything. I had the cuts, but, I was actually like thinking like this is actually not that difficult. But the problem is your hands. I mean, and I have always had very, very bad hands, and that's always been my kryptonite. And really in bare knuckle, I guess, I was kind of stubborn and didn't want to listen to the people that said I would break my hands. But sure enough, the hand breaks, and even the one that didn't break, it was very, very, it was in a lot of pain and a lot of swelling.
So most likely, Paulie Malignaggi is going to be retiring, like you said. You've had such a great career, fought so many champions, been a champion yourself. It sounds like there's no chance for the eventual Paulie versus Conor matchup. I'm just wondering, after this fight, you obviously gained a little bit of respect for Artem, I'm sure, just based on that you guys fought each other, and it looked like you had some respect after. Just looking ahead, does the beef with Conor, does that still stand going forward?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought about anything, like I said. I mean, I just didn't like that everything that had been broadcasted out as a lie, and but what I think, you can't really make people believe what you want them to believe, or make them believe the truth if they don't want to believe it. It's, at this point, does it really matter? If they want to believe a lie, then let them believe a lie. It doesn't, people's opinions aren't going to make or break what I'm doing in my everyday decision making at the end of the day. If I was going to fight again, I probably would have wanted the Lobov rematch first, but honestly, I don't care enough to even want to put myself through this again. With my hands are just in a lot of pain today as I'm talking to you, So it's like, even though I have one hand in a cast and I have the other hand that's luckily didn't break, but it still has a good amount of swelling in it. So I'm on anti-inflammatories, hoping that, it'll continue to go down. It's just diminishing little by little, but it's just not something I feel like going through anymore. I'm almost 40 years old. I just don't want. I just don't have the care to want to go through these things again.
And I know since the whole incident, you've said that social media, there's been more trolls, more hate, and you can handle it. But I know that you've said you have family members who now hear this stuff and come up to you and they say, why are people saying this, or what does this mean? I'm sure that has to kind of bother you a little bit, right?
Yeah, but I haven't seen my family since I've been done yet. I'm still down in Florida. I'm not going to be back up in the Northeast for a while because I've got to work on. I got to travel. I got to do some work on in a couple of other places. So we'll see. We'll see when I see my family how it goes. And more so the kids in my family than anything else. But we'll see. I'm sure. Like I said, I mean, at this point, like the only one that should be happy with the result and because it benefits him is Artem. I don't have a problem with Artem being happy. I don't have a problem with Artem saying anything about the result in his favor because, he's a fighter and he was in there and he got the win and this is going to benefit him. But really, like I said, anybody else, if that's a satisfactory performance and you really, in your mind, think he won the fight, then for me, you're a stone cold retard. There's nothing it can't even bother me. You know what I mean? Because I can't be bothered by that level of stupidity.
And Artem said after the fight that he's going to go into traditional boxing. I know you're not his manager, his coach or anything, but do you think that's a good idea for him to go into regular boxing?
Listen, if Artem can get paid, then why not? You know what I'm saying? I would, I can't tell you how successful or unsuccessful he's going to be, but why not? At this point, Artem's been the kind of guy who has been willing to try anything, and if they pay him enough, he'll fight anybody. At any point, at any weight. He's always been the have gloves, will fight kind of attitude. So I can't knock that. He's got a lot of character when it comes to, regardless of what you think about his ability, he's got a lot of character when it comes to once the bell rings and he's ready to fight. So whether he'll be successful or not, if he wants to give it a shot and he's able to land himself a deal that gets him paid, I would be happy for him. I don't have a problem with that.
And just to wrap it up, like we said, you fought so many great champions. You had the fight with Sean Porter. I just wanted to get your take. There's some rumors out there that Porter may fight Spence next. I'm just curious of your take of how that fight would play out. I know when you fought Porter and that fight ended, you went up to him and said, "Hey, I don't want to have to be remembered that I got beaten by a decent fighter. I want you to be a great fighter." So I'm curious of how you think that matchup is going to go down, Sean Porter versus Errol Spence.
I think it would have probably been better about a year ago. I think Sean looks like he's kind of decreasing in the last couple of performances, but we'll see. I mean, you can't let him off. He's not an old man. I think he's in his early 30s still, and Errol's not old at all either. So, I mean, it's certainly a fight that I'll listen in and watch. But I think Sean needs to be a little better than he's been in his last couple of performances.
And obviously, you're going to continue your career as an announcer with Showtime. Do you ever look back at all your fights? You talked about the hand injuries and being prone to that. You made the adjustments. You not reinvented, but you were the slick boxer. You were able to have success in that way. Do you ever think about your career as a whole and say, if you didn't have the hand injuries and the hand problems, what could have happened then? Do you ever go back and kind of think about your career in that way?
No, I don't think about it that way. I actually think about it in the other way. I think about wow, I can't believe I was able to have this career and make millions of dollars and have, and have gotten my way to a better life based off of the performances in this career, because my hands are just terrible. They're just terrible. And I was reminded of this past weekend in a Lobov fight. So I almost feel fortunate. Yeah, is it disappointing that I don't think people ever got to see the best of me? Yeah, I think it is. But I also think that I'm not the only athlete who's been through these kind of circumstances either. So, I don't think I'm unique in that way. I think that these kind of things probably happen to some other athletes as well, not just fighters, but also other athletes in general. So, but I do think of it in that way. But I'm ultimately fortunate because it's all about being able to take care of yourself at the end of the day. We're prize fighters, and we try our best to make the best of our careers. I look at it like this. I probably had a better career as mostly a one-handed fighter than most fighters who have with two hands, and so I can only count my blessings.
Paulie, you've had an excellent career, and just wanted to know if you have a final thought for people who have followed you for a long time, and any of your fans, any parting last words that you want to say.
No, just I'll be commentating for a long time. I hope I enjoy it. I enjoy the traveling. I enjoy the being ringside for fights all over the country, all over the world, and I'll have a busy schedule coming up. I have to go to Houston this weekend. I have to go to Saudi Arabia for the Khan fight. And then I'll be working White versus Rivas in London. I'll also be working Ultimate Boxer in Manchester that same week. So I've got a busy schedule coming up, and I look forward. And it keeps me busy, and it keeps me distracted, and it keeps me, succeeding. And that's what I want.
And last question, just to wrap it up, I have to ask, if we had to give a percentage of what's the chance that maybe we see Paulie Malignaggi in an MMA ring, who knows who's across, if it's Conor McGregor, what percentage chance would that be? Would it be a 10% chance? Would it be less than that?
Negative 10% chance. Yeah.
Paulie, thank you so much for your time, for your candor. Best of luck in retirement. I'm sure we'll see you ringside calling fights for Showtime and for Sky and all the other great work you're doing. Thanks so much.
You got it, Con.
That was Paulie Malignaggi. What better way to follow that up than hearing from Paulie's opponent, Artem Lobov? All right, this is Curran Bhatia for the Ask the Experts podcast. I am joined by Artem Lobov, aka the GOAT, aka the Russian Hammer. Artem, congratulations on your win. You just beat
the Siberian Express. Choo choo, motherfucker. How are you doing?
There we go. What an introduction. There we go. Congratulations on your win against Paulie Malignaggi in the main event of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 6. Artem, I spoke to Paulie, and he said his words, he thinks he won. He outboxed you. He said you only hit him with grazing shots. You only hit him once, and he says he was robbed. What are your thoughts when you hear that?
Come on, I think his face paints a different picture. I definitely hit him more than Once, he had some huge cuts on his face. He had bruises on his face, as you see. And the best shot you can't even see on his face because that landed right on his chin and it rocked him. So he didn't really leave a mark, because he's got a beard. But that was the biggest shot in that fight. He was rocked, he was wobbled, and he felt the power. So I clearly won that fight. And to be honest, that wasn't even a bare knuckle rule fight. It was more of a boxing match because I was not allowed to clinch him at all. And that's understandable. It's a new sport. This is the first time this fight took place in Florida, so the referee wasn't experienced yet. So, you can forgive that, of course. But having said that, if this was a full-on bare-knuckle FC rules, I would have stopped him because once I got him in the clinch, I straight away felt that he didn't really know what was happening. He was very tense, and I started landing shots. But then I could hear referee shout, like, stop punching, and he would break us up. But the rule in bare knuckle is as long as I'm punching, they're not allowed to break up the clinch. So I didn't really understand that. I tried to give out to the referee in the fight, but he said, no, you have to start punching straight away, which I was anyway. But I was very confused with that because if you look at boxing fights where clinch isn't really, allowed as much as in bare knuckle, they even clinch longer than he was allowing me clinch, Paulie. But whatever, I just had to, go to plan B. I just had to box him. I prepared for that as well. And I outboxed the two-time world champion.
Yes, I've heard you express your frustration about the rules. They're supposed to let you clinch, but they didn't let you work while clinching. That must have been frustrating. Now that the fight is put to bed, it's over. During the build-up, Paulie slapped you. He said he would spit on you. Is the beef over? Is there a respect level for Paulie now, or does that beef still exist between you and Paulie?
We settled the beef now. He showed up. We had a good fight. He, put his hand out and bowed down in respect, in the sign of respect, a band. And, there was not really much to it after that. There's no point carrying that in your heart. There's no point staying with that negativity, just move forward and live a good, happy life. And that's what I'm doing. I'm on to the next one. This one is already behind me. It's in the books. It's on my record as a win. And that will be there, for long after I'm gone. Happy days. But now let's see what the next challenge is.
Let's see it. It sounds like that is put behind you. One other beef question. We know you had the situation with Khabib. He confronted you, which caused Conor to fly over and smash the bus and all that. What's the relationship between you and Khabib? Is there still a little bit of bad blood there?
No, there's not a little bit of bad blood. That beef is nowhere near to be squashed. That has to be settled in the octagon, and it will be.
Let's hope that we get that fight. We just mentioned Conor McGregor. Conor talked to you after your performance against Paulie. What did Conor have to say to you after your big win?
Yeah, it was good. Good job. Good performance. Controlled the fight. Dominate him in all aspects of the fight. He ran, which made it for a difficult fight. I expected him to run, but I was hoping to deal with that by clinching, which I wasn't allowed. So then obviously had an opportunity to run, but Conor was happy with my performance. I got the win, and that's it.
You've obviously been close with Conor, been in his training camp. It's interesting that Conor, when preparing for Floyd Mayweather, actually brought in Paulie, and there was this situation about the knockdown. Did it happen in sparring? Did it not? You were in that training camp, as a fly on the wall in the training camp. What did you see in terms of Conor and Paulie in Conor's training camp?
Of course, Paulie was dropped. And, you've seen it. You've seen how Conor looked against Mayweather, the number one guy in boxing. Conor dominated the early rounds. He landed many, many shots. He landed the second most amount of shots on Mayweather from all of Mayweather's opponents. So, you can only imagine how that went with, Paulie, who came in, not exactly in shape, and he's never been on the level that Mayweather is on. So that was a complete dominance by Conor. He dominated both spars and hurt Paulie.
So Conor challenged himself. He tried boxing, just like you challenged yourself. You went from MMA to bare knuckle fighting. What is next for you, Artem? I've read that you want to go into traditional boxing. Is that what's next? Is it going to be more bare knuckle? Is it MMA? What's next for Artem?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have a boxing fight. I'm hoping I would love to fight someone like Amir Khan. He is a guy at the end of his career. I could see in his last fight that he doesn't really have that fire in him anymore. He doesn't want it as much. And that's a perfect opportunity. He seems to just want to make some money. He has a fight coming up to him, so I don't really like, calling people out too much or talking anything bad when somebody's getting ready for a different fight, not with me. I don't want to distract them like that. So, I wish him a good camp. I hope he has a safe fight. But after that, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. All these boxers have been saying that it's going to be an easy fight for them against an MMA guy. I just outboxed a 2-time world champion, somebody that he fought before also. Let's find out how it goes in the boxing ring. I would love to fight Amir.
Amir Khan, he was supposed to fight Niraj Goyat in Saudi Arabia. Goyat involved in a car accident. They brought in Billy Dib, who I spoke to, who is going to be the new opponent. So if Khan, like you said, you never want to overlook an opponent, but Khan is significantly bigger than Dib. If Khan is able to get past Dib, you're saying you want a chance at Khan. Do you want to fight Khan in MMA, in bare knuckle, in regular boxing? Where would you want to fight him?
Of course, boxing. I love a challenge. So, and also for a boxer, it's almost impossible to cross over to MMA. Without years and years of training, it is a quicker transition from MMA into boxing, I feel, and especially for me that I already been boxing. My last 2 camps have been boxing camps, so I'm ready to box. If he is ready, I am.
That's great to hear. It sounds, Artem, you've always been able to take on any comers, any challenge. In the boxing world, you want to take Amir Khan. Do you also have, maybe down the line in a few years, you mentioned Khabib. Would you also like to possibly fight in UFC again and maybe fight Khabib in the octagon? Would that be something you'd want to do?
Well, I mean, I have to be as well realistic. At the moment where I'm at, for me to fight Khabib is just unrealistic. He's has the belt in the UFC, and I'm not even in the UFC. Of course, if the opportunity presents itself, I would take that fight in a heartbeat. But, I have to be realistic with the goals that I set right now. And for now, I feel a fight with Amir Khan is more realistic than saying that fight. So, for now, we'll see. I just keep going, take it one fight at a time, keep building my career, keep building my name, and then we'll see what happens. One thing I realized in this in this sport is that publicity, your publicity, your name, that opens a lot of doors. The bigger your name is, the more fights you can accept. You can call out anybody and the fight will happen. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm just building my name. I'm improving every day, becoming a better fighter, and then we'll see what happens.
You're taking on all challenges, and that has proven true. You're very fan friendly. You're a fan favorite. Do you ever look at, the meme culture where they say Artem the GOAT and there's all the memes and the photos of you? Do you look at that? And if you do, what's your reaction? Does that make you laugh? Do you enjoy that?
Oh, yeah, I've seen many of them. I love it. It's really, like, some of them are really, really funny, to be honest with you. I mean, I love a bit of comedy. Comedy is great, and just humor in general. I've been in all kinds of situations in my life. Sometimes, we didn't know whether we're going to have food tomorrow, we didn't know where we're going to live. But, you say a little joke and you smile, and that gives you enough sort of, energy and the will to keep going, keep grinding, keep pushing forward. So I absolutely love it. It makes me laugh, and if it makes somebody else laugh, even one person, well, then that's a good deed. Keep them coming, guys.
It sounds like you are in a good place. Obviously, you're recovering from the bare knuckle match. I'm sure that there was some injuries to be had, but it sounds like your mindset is good. You're hungry to fight again, and that you're happy right now in your stage of your career.
Absolutely, you said it. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel right now.
Artem Lobov, thank you so much for the time. You're always a come-forward fighter, an exciting fighter, and I hope to see you in the ring soon, whether that's in an MMA ring, in a bare-knuckle fight, or it sounds like boxing against Amir Khan could be on the horizon possibly. So hope to see you in a combat sport sometime soon. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
We got both perspectives there of the BKFC 6 main event. Paulie Malignaggi giving his side, Artem Lobov telling us how he thinks it went down. Also, Artem Lobov calling out Amir Khan. He wants to fight him in a boxing match. But like Artem said, he doesn't want to overlook Amir's upcoming fight. and that fight is on July 12th. Remember, that was supposed to be Pakistan, Amir Khan versus India, Niraj Goyat. But Niraj Goyat was in a car accident. He's recovering. He should be okay, but he was forced to pull out of the fight, so they had to get someone else. They found Billy the Kid Dib. Billy was already fighting on the undercard, and he is moving up to fight Amir Khan in the main event, July 12th in Saudi Arabia. Now, here's the thing. Billy Dib usually fights at 135 pounds, sometimes even 130 pounds. Amir Khan's usually fighting at welterweight, 147. So Billy Dib is definitely taking a risk here. Obviously, the reward would be huge if he can put on a good show against Khan. We caught up with Billy Dib, and let's get his thoughts about this challenge.
All right, this is Curran Bhatia for the Ask the Experts podcast. I am speaking with Billy Dib. Billy, you just got the call up to fight Amir Khan in Saudi Arabia. He was originally going to fight Niraj Goyat, who actually was injured in a car crash, and they brought you in. So just tell us first, how did this come together? What happened when you got the call?
Well, basically, I was scheduled to fight on the undercard of Amir Khan anyway versus Niraj Goyat. So I was on the undercard, and then obviously, I was one of the more experienced guys on the card, or probably the most experienced guy on the card. So when his opponent had the accident, they contacted me and said, "Hey, listen, do you want to step in?" And I was like, "Well, of course, I'd love to. Of course, it's a great opportunity." So, I grew up as a kid watching Rocky movies, so this is definitely my Rocky moment.
I've heard you talk about that. You've mentioned it on social media. You're daring to be great. You're coming up almost 3 weight classes. So this is really a rocky moment for you. Are you concerned about the weight? I mean, your fights have been at 135, 130 pounds, and now I'm guessing this fight is going to be at 147. Are you concerned at all about that weight difference?
To be quite honest with you, a little bit. I'll be lucky if I didn't say I was. I mean, I am a little bit concerned, but, I'm sparring big guys in the gym for my whole career, you know what I mean? So, I've been hit hard and I've got pretty good whiskers. So, look, Amir Khan's another type of beast compared to guys that I've fought, but, I've been hit hard in the gym and I take them well. So, I don't expect that Amir Khan will, be able to really hurt me seriously or anything like that. So, and I can't cancel my chances, to be honest.
And this fight is going to be in Saudi Arabia. I'm just wondering, you never fought in Saudi Arabia. You're from Australia. I know your parents are from Lebanon. So what do you think about this fight in Saudi Arabia, traveling over there? Are you ready for that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, I was scheduled, as I said to you, I was scheduled to fight on the undercard, so I'm very, very excited. But, I've been to Saudi Arabia before because I've done the pilgrimage. So, to go over there and to fight in front of the Arab nations, it's going to be very, very exciting for me.
And we all know, we saw Amir Khan in his last fight against Terrence Crawford. He went down in the first round. He did get up from it. But he obviously has been knocked out before. He got knocked out by Canelo, Danny Garcia, Bradis Prescott, and others. You're seeing that and saying, maybe he has a shaky chin. Are you looking to try to capitalize on that?
Yeah, of course. Obviously my goal would be to land Hail Mary on his chin, you know what I mean? But, the one thing is that I will hit him for sure, you know what I mean? And being the fact that I'm smaller, he's going to find it very difficult to fight me, you know what I mean? So, I will definitely land something on his chin, but when you're talking about Crawford and you're talking about, Canelo and all them sort of guys, you're talking about guys who are a lot stronger than I am. But, anything is possible, you know what I mean? If you land a good shot with good timing, then anything is possible.
You talked about a smaller guy. I know that someone that you worked with in the past was Prince Nassim Hamed. He was one of the best smaller fighters that we've had. He obviously packed a huge punch. What did you learn from Prince Nassim Hamed?
I learned a lot from Nas. Growing up as a kid, I tried to emulate everything that Nas did. Obviously, I wasn't blessed with the power that he was blessed with. But, I tried to copy some of the moves that he had and do that. But, growing up in my relationship with Nas, he always just advised me to use good timing and don't be too erratic. Look for the shots, try to land them flush and clean. So, that's exactly what I'll be looking to do in this fight. I'll be just looking to land, good, clean shots. That's it.
I read that before the Tevin Farmer fight, you were contemplating retirement. Is this fight with Amir Khan, is this a make or break fight for you and your career?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, look, hey, there's nothing expected of me in this fight. Obviously everyone's going to be saying, Billy Dib's crazy. He's moving up to firing weight. But for me, it's like, look, Mikey got moved up to 147 to fight Spence, right? So, and like Mikey started off at 126 like I did, you know what I mean? So, sometimes you got to take a big risk for reward. But like in saying that, this doesn't mean that if I lose, I'll retire or anything like that. No. To be quite honest with you, as I said, there's nothing expected of me, so I just go in and do the best that I can. And, just being in there is a moral victory in itself.
And when you saw Mikey Garcia dare to be great, taking on the challenge of Errol Spence and jumping up 2 weight classes, he had a tough time in there and he couldn't really find that plan B. For you in this fight, do you have a plan B in case your original plan doesn't work out and a way to make those adjustments in there?
Look, I'm just gonna go out there and do the best that I can. You know what I mean? I've got like different kinds of styles. You know what I mean? So evidently and obviously, I will definitely mix it up. You know what I mean? I'll mix it up. I'll try things. If I'm not having success with one thing, then I'll try another thing. I'm just gonna go out and enjoy myself. I'm gonna really enjoy this moment. Obviously this is gonna be, the biggest fight of my career, and it's the highest paid fight of my career. So I'm just gonna go out and seize the moment.
Absolutely. And before I let you go, I just have to ask. It was in the news a few years ago. You had the beef with 50 Cent. I just wanted to know how everything with that ended out. I know you said that their promotional company folded. They owed you some money, and there was some bad blood there. Is there still a little bit of bad blood there between you and 50 Cent?
I haven't heard from him in a long time, and at the end of the day, for me, it's just water under the bridge. He did the wrong thing. He knows that, and he robbed me for some money, and at the end of the day, that's the way it goes. And you can't cry over spilled milk, and crying about it ain't never gonna bring the money back. So at the end of the day, I don't have any time for 50 Cent. If I ever saw him, I wouldn't even greet him. So I got no time for that guy.
I'm sure you saw the big heavyweight upset, Andy Ruiz knocking out Anthony Joshua. Do you take some motivation from that and say, hey, this is the year of the upset, and you're going to do the same thing against Amir Khan?
I'll tell you something, man. Everybody said, Andy Ruiz is too small, he's too fat, it's going to be too hard. And then people are going to say, Billy Dib's too small. Upsets happen, man. So, I'm going to be looking to spin that upset. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
And in your Instagram post you posted today, you said in life you get a limited number of opportunities to do something monumental. When the opportunity comes, you answer. You got the call to step up and take on Amir Khan. So just to wrap it up, can you tell the fans what they can expect? July 12th in Saudi Arabia, you're taking on Amir Khan. Just tell the fans what they can expect.
I mean, look, I don't really know what to expect myself, to be quite honest. But what I can tell you is that I'm a courageous fighter. You know what I mean? I'm not a quitter. You know what I mean? My last loss was a difficult one against Tevin Farmer, but Tevin Farmer is a great mover, very elusive, hard to hit. Sure, Amir Khan won't be hard to hit. He'll be there, and he'll be there to trade. So, just look for an explosive fight. And obviously, look, this could end in disaster. Could end in me getting knocked out, or it could end in him getting knocked out. You know what I mean? Or it could go to distance. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna go out there and take each round as it comes and just do the best that I can.
Billy the Kid Dib from Australia, daring to be great. He's taking on Amir Khan July 12th in Saudi Arabia. Billy, best of luck to you, and thank you so much for the time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That was Billy Dib. He is not sure what is going to happen, but he is taking on the challenge, stepping up to the plate to take on Amir Khan. We're going to get someone from the Khan side now. We have Khan's strength and conditioning coach and our last guest today, Alex Ariza. Remember, Alex Ariza and Khan worked together in the past, specifically when Khan fought Marcos Maidana, and he actually did not get knocked down in that fight. He won that fight, and it was a very close fight in that 10th round. There was many moments where Maidana was landing shots, but Khan stayed up and won the decision on that one. Did Alex Ariza play a part in that? They're back together now. Khan is taking on Dib, a smaller guy in this fight, but who knows who he's going to take on next? Maybe Artem Lobov. That remains to be seen. But I caught up with Alex Ariza. He's currently in Saudi Arabia with Amir in training camp, and he was nice enough to give us some time.
All right, this is Curran Bhatia for the Ask the Experts podcast. I am speaking with Alex Ariza, strength and conditioning coach. Alex, you've linked up once again with Amir Khan, and you guys are fighting in Saudi Arabia. He was going to take on Niraj Goyat of India, but he was actually in a car accident, Niraj was, and they just brought in Billy Dib as the new opponent. So can you just tell us a little bit about what's happening? How did the fight with Billy Dib come together?
That's a good question. I kind of found out about it early this morning. That there was an incident in India regarding Goyat and a car accident, but we weren't really sure of the how bad it was or the extent of the injury. So, but then within half an hour, they said, yeah, he was in the hospital, and it was something that was going to obviously it was going to derail the fight. Between, obviously India and Pakistan.
And you were training for Goyat, who was closer to the same size as Amir, but now taking on Billy Dib. Billy Dib is, he's been fighting at 130 pounds, 135 pounds. So does that change your preparation with Amir in terms of how you're preparing him for an opponent?
Actually, it does. But in the sense of, there was no need to really, focus so much on the strength work and making him a bigger and stronger guy. And so Billy Dib is a good boxer. And so now we're going to have to focus on more movement and speed and things like that. But overall, we're kind of, we're kind of laying a foundation, hopefully. We're not looking past. Definitely weren't looking past Goyat. We're not looking past Billy Dib, but we were, training, for a serious fight. Like I said, to me, this wasn't an exhibition. It's fights like this that can take you back into that upper echelon of fighters.
And this is your second go around with Khan. You were with him. I believe when he fought Marcos Maidana, which he took Maidana's best punches. I believe Maidana had a 98% KO percentage coming into that fight, and Khan actually stayed up. So that's a testament to your work. When he left you, he ended up fighting Danny Garcia. He got knocked down a bunch of times, and I know you commented. You said, the first thing to go is the legs. The first thing to go is the legs when you're in a tough fight like that. So I'm just curious, now that you're back with him, what are you doing to kind of rebuild Khan, rebuild the legs, rebuild the strength? What are you doing with him now?
Well, I think it kind of goes back a little bit further than that. And if you look back after the Prescott fight, and then he had that incredible war with Kotelnik where he won the title back, and then it was the big fight with the big fight with I think it was his second fight in America with Marcos Maidana. That was a war, and then the one with Peterson I thought was also a good war. So it just goes to it wasn't just that everybody likes to just focus on that Maidana fight and the fight against even though he stopped Zab Judah. Zab caught him with some clean shots. So I get it. He's you look at the guys who, unfortunately at that time, our training methods and our philosophies are a lot different than what Freddie's started to become, and that he wanted to go in a different direction, and that fight with Garcia ultimately, well, we saw what happened. And then, then with Manny, and then Sinchenko with Paulie Malignaggi. And, there was a, string of knockouts that kind of pursued once my team left. But, we just have a different philosophy of training. And I've always said that I believe that the, legs and core and is like roots on a tree. So.
And so now that you're back with Amir, are we going to see a new and improved Amir Khan in this fight? Is he going to be strong and back to kind of the fundamentals and the stuff that you worked around in the first go around?
I mean, it's really that. I mean, that's a hard to say that, to use that Billy Dib as a compass of, because he is coming up in weight. He was the first one to call right away and say, hey, I'm close to that weight. I'm already at that weight. I can fight at that weight. So there was some other offers that were put out there. Billy Dib just happened to be the one that jumped at it right away and said, hey, I'm on my way. And so I don't want to sit there and say, hey, yeah, this is going to set, the tempo of right off of Billy Dib. He's a great champion, but let's be honest, he is moving up 2 weight classes. So the game plan with Bones and that Bones Adams has come up with has obviously changed a little bit. So, it lays the groundwork and it gives him the confidence to start to go back to how we used to do things and to go out there and perform effectively.
And just to switch gears a little bit, I wanted to ask you about a few weeks ago, we had the big heavyweight matchup, Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. And you, as a strength coach, you see Anthony Joshua's chiseled like a statue. Andy Ruiz is not that. But obviously he has the boxing ability, the cardio ability. So I was just curious about your take when you see something like that. Were you surprised in that knockout, or did you know that, just because of the fact that you're built like a bodybuilder, that doesn't necessarily translate to boxing? Right.
It doesn't translate always. But I've known Andy since he was 15 years old, when he was at Wildcard, and he was sparring guys like Andrei Arlovsky and Latif Coyote and excuse me, and a lot of those bigger guys back in there. Same with like David Benavidez. He was in there with a lot of those guys. So it didn't, because they've had the best sparring, as they've been growing. They're really prodigies, in my opinion. So I didn't really think. I think people are taking away too much away from Andy. It took a lot for him to get up, but that kid's has been a kept secret for a long time. But Anthony, obviously, he kind of fell apart. He gassed out, and he paid the price for it.
And one more big fight that's coming up, I just wanted to get your take on. Manny Pacquiao's taking on Keith Thurman. You worked with Manny for a long time. And I was just curious to your thoughts of, since you've departed with Manny, have you seen a different Manny Pacquiao in terms of his size in the ring, his speed? Since you've kind of departed working with him, have you noticed anything different? And what is your take on the Pacquiao-Thurman fight coming up?
Well, I think everybody, we're numbers people like Terry and myself and my team. So we base a lot of our performances off the numbers. So if a guy's throwing 1,000 punches a fight throughout a career, and all of a sudden you lose a third of those, then obviously that's that variable that's missing. However, he's become a different fighter. As far as his work rate and obviously his volume punching and, a lot of the things that happened before the Marquez knockout. But I still don't think Thurman's even remotely in the same class as Manny Pacquiao. Not even close. I think that the speed, and we saw that in the Josecito Lopez fight. If Josecito was a little bit was better conditioned and had a better punch volume, he would have knocked Thurman out. So I'm not really impressed with anything that Thurman does, to be honest with you. And that combined with Manny, I don't think I don't think he's ever seen speed like that. And he's not. He clearly doesn't like it to the body. And Manny's always been a good body puncher. So I see I see Thurman on his bike as soon as he sees the speed and tastes a little bit of the power.
There you have it. Alex Ariza out in Saudi Arabia. Best of luck working with Amir Khan. He's fighting Billy Dib on July 12th. Alex, thank you so much for the time.
Anytime, buddy. I appreciate it.
And that is our show today. I hope we did a good job of looking at what's going on in the boxing world, getting some interesting guests to give you their thoughts. If you made it this far, thank you. I want to hear from you. Find me on Instagram or Twitter on my personal handle at Curran Bhatia, at CurranBhatia. And you can follow the show on Twitter at ATE_podcast. At ATE_podcast. You can also find the show on Spotify. If you want to email us, it's asktheexpertspod@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. This is Curran Bhatia signing off for the Ask the Experts podcast.